All right. Welcome to it.
All right.
We're live. You got to do one of these.
Oh.
That's how we go. We should have put a mic next to it. That would have been a little cooler. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, welcome, Miss
Thank
Erica, to the show. We don't usually have too much of a plan here, but I'm excited to have you on here because generally when we get to drinking, we end up talking about a lot of random shit. So we'll just see what kind of happens from here. But so what have you been up to lately?
Oh. Well, my seasonal work's ending.
Right.
So job hunting.
Oh yeah, you were over at Kings for a while, right?
Yes. So our last game was the other day.
Oh,
And,
that's right.
Jerry
And that's how I was
Reynolds-
able to finally get your ass on the
Yes,
show.
And Jerry Reynolds is leaving his full-time color analyst position after 20 years.
Which means there's a new. You guys need an engineer or?
Doug Christie is actually going to be the new color analyst next
Okay.
season, and Jerry will occasionally pop in for pre and post game live.
Nice. So where's the opening then? Because here's what we're doing: is we're gonna offer. There's a job position up, and we know how everybody wants
yeah.
jobs these days.
They're just shifting people.
That's it. It's just
They're
rotating up.
Yeah.
So there's a new job for somebody who wants to tape cables then. Because the old guy who taped cables is moving up to rolling cables. The guy who used to roll cables is now moving boxes. The guy, no, that's not how it works.
That's not how it works. No, but yeah, that's what I've been up to. Plus starting my garden, so
Hey, that's what's up.
it's a lot of work.
Gardening sucks, doesn't it?
It's therapeutic because I'm taking all my pent up anger out on the ground.
Oh, that's good.
When I'm trying to clear all these weeds and even out unleveled ground.
Right.
It's a pain in the ass.
It's a pain in the ass.
It's a huge pain in the ass. Yeah.
So, what are you growing this year? Wait, this is the first year, right?
This is the first year. I'm hoping things live.
Oh, okay, so let me see your thumb.
My thumb,
Yeah,
it's not green.
It's not green.
No.
It's kind of red.
Yeah. I'm hoping I can change things around and actually keep plants alive.
Right.
So.
I've discovered I'm horrible at keeping plants alive. I am, however, good at fixing things that aren't plants. So I figure if I could take and create like a robot to take care of my plants for me, all good.
You should start with succulents because they are really easy to maintain.
That works.
So
I don't know what a succulent is.
they're very popular. You've seen them. You've definitely seen them.
Yeah. Well, so is that like a what was that? There's like tulips and
No. That
hang
is not
on.
a succulent.
You gotta guide me. So it's no, what's the,
Okay, you know how I'm sure you've seen it walking at Target. In Target, you've seen like the plastic fake plants, and it's the little green.
I'm really good at taking care of those.
These little tiny green. I realize this sounds like a lot of plants,
Joe, I've got a succulent garden in my backyard.
but yeah,
The
they're small.
cactus family belongs to the genome.
Oh, that's why they're
genus
easy to take care of.
of
Yeah, they don't
succulents.
take a lot of water.
Yep. Rob just kind of brought it home there.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah.
So yeah, it's because they're hard to kill. These things grow in deserts.
You can kill them if you overwater them.
Oh, that's the way you drown them out.
You just drown them,
Right.
but that's probably the best thing to start with.
That makes sense. That or fake plants.
Well, I guess, but
It's a good like starter.
Those will
It's a
get
confidence builder, right?
dusty,
Oh yeah, then you got to
and
dust
those are
them.
hard to clean.
Yeah, those are. So there was a time because you worked over at Metro. Still work at Metro, right?
Yeah.
Rob and I, when we were much younger, worked at Metro, and we were cleaning out one of the offices. You know how they do their like yearly clean out, and we got a fake plant that Rob really wanted.
Okay.
Well, because it was nice, you know. And I had a truck, so I was like, I'll throw that thing in the back of my truck. We'll take it home.
Was
You
this a
can-
large fake plant
Yeah, no, it was like a full floor to
Oh.
ceiling height.
tree?
Yeah, fake tree.
Ah.
But more of a shrub.
Okay.
Like it had leaves all the way up. But
Okay.
yeah. But the problem was because it was fake. As we're going down the freeway, each leaf would wiggle and fly away. And it was an old truck
So
that I
you were
had.
left with a stick.
Well, it was better than that because on the way home I had one of those tailgate windows, the back windows that opens. And the way the aerodynamics work it's like whatever's in the bed floating around will fly through that window and hit you in the face. And so every leaf that came off that tree hit Rob in the head on the way home.
Oh.
And I saw him progressively get more and more angry and frustrated.
That has a what's the phrase?
Is that irony?
Not irony. It has a certain yeah, never mind.
It's a thing, yeah.
It's a like keep wanting to say like elegance, and that's not the word.
Oh, no. It's poetic.
Poetic
Something.
yeah, that thing.
There's a word for it. Poetic.
It's poetic.
Justice.
Poetic. It's not justice.
It's not
no,
poetic
it's
justice.
poetic.
Not Kendrick Lamar.
Karmic poetic. Oh,
It is
Rob,
fucking poetic justice.
it's poetic. But Rob didn't do anything wrong. He didn't deserve to have this tree
No.
hitting him in the face.
No.
He's a good guy. He just wanted to take this tree from people who didn't want it anyways. But
I think the best thing that I've seen there in the office was their box of Dunder Mifflin paper.
I almost shat myself when
I
saw
honestly,
that.
I didn't know that was a real company
I didn't either.
until I saw that box,
Mhm.
and then I still thought it was a prop.
I thought it was a fake box. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wait, we get our paper from Dunder Mifflin? And Katie, who was working there, she's like, yeah. And didn't seem phased by it at all.
So they didn't order just like a box.
No, that's their suppliers, Dunder Mifflin.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
Yeah. It's legit.
I really want to like now ask Kristen if she gets Jim or like Creed. Or, like,
Well,
who
so
do you
every
talk
once in a
to?
while, I think Kristen watches these every once in a while. I don't think she watches long enough. Most people don't. So if you had any like nervousness going into this, people only watch for about 30 seconds and then bail out. So we're in the clear now. You can burp, do all sorts of stuff.
Cool.
Yeah. Which will be great later on
Which
when
will
we have
happen
to piss.
because that's what happens when I drink beer.
Yeah, we're drinking beer. It was a nice change up actually because we're usually drinking whiskey, which it's good. What is it? Wine is fine, but whiskey is quicker.
That doesn't even rhyme.
It doesn't have to.
But it should.
It doesn't have
There's
to because
just
it's whiskey.
No flow to that.
It's a quote.
I don't think it's a quote.
I bet it is.
By who?
It's on a TV show.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Called Californication. I'm not even shitting you.
All right.
See, and what we'll do in someday in the future, I'll have it to the point where I have shit queued up, and I'll have Rob play it real quick.
You're just gonna have all these like tracks on file stored.
Yeah, then I gotta
ready.
figure out what my one-liners are gonna be for the
Yeah.
night. It's fucking exhausting.
Gotta be a producer. Oh my god.
I'd rather not. So it's on that note, it's where I work now over at Mather Aviation. The guy who owns the company, awesome guy, right? But me and all the mechanics realized today that he does not want to be the boss, right? Because he's so much happier when he's just on the floor, like working on a plane. But now he's got to do this thing where he's making calls and like setting meetings and all that, and you can see it like kills him a little bit. He just wants to hang out and bullshit and work on planes. He's like the most down-to-earth dude ever. And so like we were working on something and he came out on the floor and he was like really excited because he got working with us too. I don't know. That's the way I feel like I am right now as a boss.
Sounds like a rough life for him right now.
Yeah. No, it's, somebody's got to be the boss.
Yeah. I think if you're the boss, I mean, I'm sure that some people will still like you, but I just feel like if something changes, you're not one of them anymore, right?
Right.
So now, like, people will still like you, but you won't be as included.
Well, then you have to understand. Yeah, you have to understand that dynamic. Like when you get promoted. What was it? Back when I worked at Metro, there was that little bit of dynamic because I became a full-time PA and I was like, I know I'm not anything special, but you're working full-time, so people are like, there's kind of like a little bit of animosity at first, It's not huge by any means, but you got to just like play it cool. Because if you don't play it cool and you start acting like a dick, people are gonna get.
Yes, I've
anyway.
been there.
But no,
that.
the point being is that. So what's the difference? And like me and Bryson, we've discussed this a lot. Between like a boss and a leader.
Oh. I think they overlap a lot.
Right.
So a boss is going to have to deal with certain issues. I think that a leader won't always have to.
Really? So, cause
There's always that corporate stuff like that you're gonna have to deal with.
so and this is what I always refer to. It's just I don't know if you ever seen it online, but it's like this really it's like a it's like a PowerPoint, like a Wingdings almost image, but it's got like a dude behind a desk and he's like whipping, right? And there's like people pulling the desk, and there's the other one where it's like it shows a leader where he's with the people just ahead of him, also pulling, but they're pulling behind him, you know. And so it's like, to me, it's the same. It's what's going on, but it's how you react and how you interact with the people that you're, you know, directing.
I guess I know what you're saying now. I mean, I can relate that to basketball
Right.
and coaching styles, because I had a lot of different coaches over the years and a lot of bad coaches over the years. And I had one, like, there's only one coach that to me like fit best,
Yeah.
and he was actually just subbing for the day. He wasn't actually coaching us for the season. He came in because our coach couldn't be there,
Right.
and I don't know what it was, but he made us all play together as a team, all practice hard. He wasn't easy on us, but he pushed us to do better, and
Like
I think
seemed
that's
fair kind of deal, or
I mean, because the coach I had, his style was to, you know, if you're not making your shots, if you're not getting the play down, get on the line, you're going to run.
right.
That doesn't, to me, do anything for anybody. And I don't know, he pushed us to where we wanted to play together, because normally we all had this individual mindset, and that
So
was
he created teamwork then.
He created teamwork.
Yeah.
And it knew it was going to all go back to how it was before when he
The moment he
wasn't
leaves,
coaching,
he's,
the moment he left, and it did. So I think your attitude, how you approach difficult situations, how you encourage people, makes a huge impact on everyone working together.
Right. That makes entire sense. It's how you but ultimately, what's the best thing he did? He created this teamwork situation, right?
It's not like he was easy on us, but he wasn't cussing at us and yelling at us. And he would push us to do better because he knew we could do better. And I don't know we all reacted well to it. And we all decided, hey, like, let's play harder and let's actually, like, play as a team instead of I'm going to get mine.
Right.
You know.
But he instilled, because that's huge though. I mean, if you're all going for the same damn goal,
same goal, yeah.
but yet everybody's kind of just trying to, they all want to get it themselves.
And what I think it was is because with my other coach, there was favorites, clearly favorites. There was also, it was like we were all competing against each other while we were competing against other teams.
Oh, see, that's not going to get you anywhere.
No,
though.
it never got us anywhere.
That sucks.
And I didn't feel that when he was coaching us, and I don't think anyone else did either, or we wouldn't have all played together.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. So, but why is it that one guy has it? So that coach obviously get it, or was able to imply that.
It's the approach, because I can even remember times where we would be doing horrible in a game. It's halftime. We're going to go to the locker room. We're going to chat about what happened in the first half and how we're going to come back in the second. And just threw a clipboard at a wall, started yelling at us. And
that was the first coach?
Yeah,
right.
As our main coach. And that was, to me, when I see that, I feel disrespected, and I automatically care less now.
Well, and you shut down
about
too.
This game.
Yeah, because it's this offensive behavior.
It is
right?
offensive, because, you know, and I actually talked to somebody about the difference between coaching boys and coaching girls, because male coaches approach it differently when they're coaching boys, and they think that they can be tougher on them. They can cuss more. They can be more, like, vocal.
Yeah.
And they have to take it easier, and they have to talk nicer. And I'm thinking, so you feel like it's okay to talk shit to the boys, and you'll try to talk better to the girls because of gender.
Right.
But do the boys respect you when you talk to them that way?
Yeah, I mean, that's...
I certainly never felt respected, and it made me care less about playing for that coach.
So that's a good kind of a question there, because I know, particularly on the not so much teams, but it's people that I've worked with, right? And when you have a good work bond, there's a massive amount. Granted, I usually work with guys, like doing mechanic work, most of the people I work with are mechanics. Even in video, the majority of people
Yeah, I
are
can count.
male.
I can say I've worked with less than 10 women
Mm-hmm.
in broadcast.
Yeah, I can think because I've worked with you. There's one girl on our team now. There's about 10 tops.
Yeah.
And the thing is, so I know with the tight knit teams, like even when you're on, I got no problem. Like, but there's a massive amount of kind of, it's like razzing that we'll do.
Mhm.
You know, like I talk shit to everybody on our team, but it's not a
You can tell
hardcore
when
kind of
someone's
shit. Yeah.
joking and when
Yeah.
someone's
Well, it's almost
not
like it's an accountability thing too.
mm-hmm.
Because for me, at least when we're on a team, and part of it's this bonding experience where we'll go out, you've had a couple beers with the guy, blah, blah, blah. But when it gets down to like go time and you're working on something, and let's say we're on a shoot and somebody's missing the shot, and I'll be like, hey, what the hell are you doing? Like, what are you falling asleep over there? And I'll
Right.
call them out.
Right, but that's different.
Right. And then even
That's
later, if they're rolling a cable a little weird, I'll be like, who taught you how to roll that cable? But it's what happens is then they go, oh shit, and they'll do it right.
But it's
They'll
how
talk
you
a little
approach
shit
it too.
It's how you approach it.
them.
Right.
Yeah, because like I have a great crew,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't always work with the same people.
Right.
And it's hard to explain, but certain positions it shifts.
Yeah.
So, and one time I was working with an engineer who I had never worked with before, and I was having trouble with my equipment, and I did all the stuff that I usually do to check it to make sure that everything's set up right and working. And I went to him and I said, hey, this specific thing's not working.
Right.
And and it was his tone too, the way he said it. He was just like, well, did you check this? Which is the first thing I do when
Right.
that isn't working.
He's checking. He's giving you like the rundown from the very get-go, but
but it was
it's
the way
almost
he
like
said it, and it's something simple. It's something that,
like as if you would have never thought of it, kind of thing.
well, no, not even, yeah, but like for me in my position, and anyone that has the same position as I do, that's one of the first things you check when it's not working.
Right. It's a standard
So when
issue.
it's a standard issue. So when he said that, like, oh, did you check it? I had to think to myself first, if I was a guy, would you have asked me that question?
Okay.
Because there's not many women that work in that field.
Right.
So
Because and I know this working in broadcast. Actually, it's funny. I've got a team member that on some of the crews that we've worked with, and she made a point to kind of go above and beyond. I know, like I could tell this that she was going above and beyond, because at first I did question her. I was like, without saying anything, it was quite clear because I'd ask her questions that are kind of base level, but she was on point on everything. And after about like a couple hours of working with her, I was like, you know what? I don't need to keep asking her the basic shit.
well, when someone's new, I mean,
Right.
yeah, you have to know if you need to step in and train them on something,
Right.
let them
Yeah.
know something.
Well, because you're gauging them. But
Right.
but what I had seen too is this person had clearly been like, she was aware that people discriminate in that way. They discriminate against her because she's a female in a
Yeah.
mostly populated with male area. So everybody's gonna assume that she's less experienced. And she was on her shit, so it was good.
Yeah, and
But
I've talked to other women that work in the field, and we all have stories about something that happened that was, whether the guy realized it or not,
right.
did something that was very gender biased. And I have a friend who was on the court, and she's a camera operator, and she actually was picked up by a player and moved because the player wanted to shoot on that spot of the court.
Somebody straight picked her up though.
Yeah, straight up
Yeah.
put his hands on her shoulders
Now,
and moved her.
granted, I will throw this out.
I can see that happening to you, Joe.
Yeah, if it was a very small cameraman, like when I
But
first
the
started,
thing
I was
is-
like 100 pounds when I first started
The
this
thing
shit.
is, he had the whole court. She was getting ready to shoot her shots, and he just had to, for whatever reason, take another shot in that position. But would he have put his shoulders and pushed a guy over, a male camera operator over?
Honestly,
or did he
I'd say
feel
yeah.
like he could because...
That's a good question for debate, because I would say yes. I've seen
But
whether it be security or whatever, but yeah, that would
working
be.
in the
I don't
field,
know,
like,
yeah.
I see people approach males differently.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I don't think he would have done that to another guy.
Yeah, and that it's
I
a
think he
tough
would
one
have
to call.
asked him to move instead of touching him
Just
and
grabbing and
physically
moving. Yeah,
moving him.
Mm.
Because why would anyone need to do that?
yeah. No,
He could have just said, "Hey, could you move? I would like to take a shot here."
Mm-hmm.
You know?
No, it's
I-
it's the tough one is to reanalyze it and go back and because obviously they'd say no, of course I wouldn't, but how do you know? Because I've definitely had security guards without saying a word to me. They just grab my shoulder and start pulling. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm here.
Mhm.
You don't just throw a hand on me and pull me in one direction. I've had other guys who come up and just they ask first, like, hey, I need you to step back. Granted, that's the same thing that happened to her. They just grabbed her and moved her. So I don't know.
But we're talking about a security guard and a basketball player.
Right? Yeah,
Those
it's a
different
player
things.
too.
Because I could say a security guard.
Right, it's their job.
It's their job, but they also have a different mindset, and power can sometimes play a factor into what
Right.
they think they can and cannot do, which may have also happened with this player. They think that, oh, I'm a well-seasoned vet, I can do what I want.
Yeah, that confidence
type of
starts
thing.
kicking in. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's entirely like that's one of the effects that may play into that. But yeah, I don't know. But that's something you see a lot
Mm-hmm.
in that field. Like, and you take more notice to it is the thing too.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
versus a lot of people will not so much throw a blind eye, but it's just physically not looking for it.
Right. They're not looking for it. It's
Yeah.
not anything they're concerned about.
Yeah.
So why would they pay attention?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because I mean, it's to the point where anytime I'll talk shit on like the same shoot. I'm like, oh, that's the fucking dickhead security guard that grabbed me, and he like pulled me
Mhm.
back, he's an asshole. But then beyond that, I just kind of let it all roll and forget about it. But it's a valid point in question, how I don't know. It's a tough one to
I
dance
just-
around, yeah.
Yeah. I could point out a bunch of other things too that I've
Well,
seen that.
That would be the one is point because that's the huge question that I have is this, especially nowadays, like with what we've got with the movements that are going on.
Yeah.
Is it overreaction or is it totally justified?
Depends on. I mean, it always depends on the circumstance. But for example, just talking amongst other female friends of mine about work issues,
Mm-hmm.
there's people respond differently when you're a male and you have an issue with a coworker than if you're a female and you have an issue with a coworker. And it's a whole type of thing where there's a difference between being confident and being a bitch,
Right.
right? Because
Well, no,
that's
and
not
that's-
going to happen with a male. They're just going to say he's confident. But if a woman starts bringing up issues or starts saying this should be done this way,
Mm-hmm. It's the common one. Is
Then
suddenly she's a bitch.
there might be a
Yeah.
bitch.
What's going on?
you know,
Right. And now,
why?
Are you saying that a man can't be an asshole at work?
well,
they
that's what I was
can.
actually gonna just get into because I
They
do
definitely can.
I've had
But
supervisors
They
that
get
are
away
definitely
with a lot more. Things get let go a lot more until it gets to a certain point.
I see that would be one I'd be. It's also who you work with too, but at least in the experience that I've had, there's only been one supervisor I've ever considered a bitch, and it was hands down men and women who were under her all agreed. They're like, yep, nope, hands down, she's
Mm-hmm.
a bitch, But on the flip side, the same on the other side, other supervisors that I've had that I considered like a total dickhead, who was a dude, it was hands
I
down.
definitely, yes, there. I see that, but I'm talking about instances where you're complaining because you're uncomfortable at work,
Right.
or you're mentioning it because they're failing at their
Oh,
job,
I see where you're
and
coming
it's
from. Yeah.
perceived as you're doing too much.
I see. Yeah.
But
Or-
you're
no,
actually
that's-
making a valid complaint. There's an issue,
and then you become the bitch because
and
you made
then
a valid
become-
complaint.
Yes,
That I understand where you're
That's-
coming
yeah.
from. Well, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
What it is that would be now. This is a heavy one that you've probably dealt with, and I don't have to school you on this, but I'm just gonna state it out loud to maybe give you some hope that people understand it. But yeah, like let's say broadcast, for example, male-dominated environment. One girl happens to be on her shit and tells some dude like, "Hey, you're rolling that cable wrong." He'd be like, "She's a bitch." No, she was totally right. You're just not used to getting put in your place by a girl.
Yeah.
You need to suck it up and deal with that shit.
I mean-
I don't think anyone likes to be put in their place by anybody.
It's true.
No,
It's
but
true, but
it's
what-
all about how you handle it, because I work with a lot of great people, and I mean, and there's stuff where I've made mistakes, and they mentioned it because maybe I didn't notice it right away, and they mentioned it, but they would say, "Hey, I think this is supposed to be this,"
Right.
you know, and I'd be like, "Oh, yeah."
Yeah, you take that kind of cautious
constructive criticism.
Yeah.
Versus, it's all about the way you say it,
Mm-hmm.
because that's not talking down to me. That's not trying to.
No, that's just, hey,
That's
I
just,
noticed
hey.
you did this. I get it, but
Yeah.
this is the right way to do it.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to help out. That kind of thing, you
Yeah.
know? Big difference from,
Big
hey,
difference.
you know you should be doing it this way.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, throwing a look, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So there's obviously there's a massive difference, but now the question comes in is when you start getting people who experience it, even though it went one way, they experience it their own other way. Like they would purely twist the story in their head.
Well, yeah, that can happen. I mean, it's just perception. Like, I can perceive something the same situation completely differently the way than you perceive it.
Right.
So that's always something that can happen. And I've had instances where I was working for a company and someone new was hired, but they were in a higher position than I was, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing my job, following the script, everything, but the communication was lacking amongst individuals. We're all a team.
Underneath the new
communication
person
was
who had been
lacking.
hired. Yeah.
Yes. And he came over to me. Hey, don't you know where this is? Don't you know where this is? That's how he said it.
Right.
Like, yes. But I'm waiting for direction, which isn't happening.
Yeah. Which is also your job as the new director
He
or
was
whatever, you know.
producing, and the director was someone who doesn't normally direct. So, and directing's hard, especially, you know, when you haven't done it before.
Yeah, no, it's you probably should have some experience
Things
before you
are
do. It's a
failing
massive
at multiple levels before they get to me, and I'm just waiting because why would I just put something up, right?
No, well, and see, given some little background, and I know what you do, and just for anybody who might still be watching, but you run CG over at, say this is King at multiple. You do it at multiple venues,
I work
so it
for
doesn't
multiple companies, so
it
yeah,
doesn't
this
really
was
matter
a long
where.
time ago.
But yeah, so you run CG, and the whole point of what you do is when the director calls, you do exactly what the director says on that dime.
And there are times where I don't even need them to say it. I know what's coming.
Right.
But this was a situation where wasn't sure what was going to happen, and I'm waiting for a call, and
But the point being is that you're not doing your job right if you're just autopilot.
I can just do whatever I want.
Your job is to actually be a tool for the director to use, and the director has to call for you. If he's not calling, you're actually not supposed to do anything.
Especially something that's not systematic. This wasn't something that we do in this order every time.
Right.
This was something that a performance just happened.
Right.
And I'm waiting to have a call to put a graphic up, because I don't know, like, what camera shots do you want to take? You know, like
trying to fade it from the mic there, but
and it's a timing issue.
Yeah.
Like, how many minutes before the next video? Like, what do you want in this time frame? I don't know, because I didn't write the script. I'm also not a director, and I'm also not producing. I'm just putting a graphic up. So I need to know when you want it. That's it. And it didn't happen fast enough for him, but also I wasn't directed to put it up. And he came over and asked me, well, what are you doing? And I explained, I'm waiting on a call.
Yeah.
And he said, well, it's based on intuition.
What the fuck? Oh,
Yes.
I mean, okay. So, hang on.
Yes.
That's the problem on the director.
Yes.
No fucking director should ever
This
say.
is a producer, not a director.
Doesn't matter. Okay, so
Yeah.
maybe a director can actually run the show by intuition, because that's kind of what you're doing anyways.
Actually,
but
no.
he should not tell you to run it by your intuition, because that's not your job.
First of all, if it was based on intuition, I would just be doing whatever I wanted to the
Right.
whole
Well,
time.
no, my point is you shouldn't run it. He shouldn't have his crew running on intuition. That's bullshit.
No, the fact
He's
that
supposed
he
to
said
tell
that,
people what to do, when to do it.
The fact that he says that shows that he doesn't have the experience to be in that position.
Yeah.
Because
He's relying on you to do it right.
no,
at the right
because
time.
he doesn't even realize the order of the production process. And as a producer, the director really puts into place what the producer wants.
Right.
Right? the producer says, this is how I want the show to be. And the director is calling the shots. The director is cutting the cameras and asking for the graphics to come in and asking for, different things. But the producer says, this is how I want it.
Yeah.
And he didn't know how the production should work. The director wasn't directing. And then that's what he says to me. And
you
so
should have
I
done it by
was-
your intuition. So
I
now,
was pissed.
but did he also do this to? Now this is a serious question though. Did he say the same shit to other people who were male? Like, there's not a male CG
I
because
don't
there's only one
know.
CG. But replay, for example.
I don't
He
know
probably had a
what he
replay
said
op.
to other people, but there was another time when I was trying to put the graphics in order and I was trying to get everything ready. We actually wouldn't even get enough time to do that pre-game. So it was really frustrating for me, and I was dealing with a lot of different things. And I was trying to find a video because I didn't have time to finish putting everything in order. So I'm hunting for this video in a bunch of videos on a computer screen. And he came over. What? Could you not find it? And that's how he said it to me.
No, you didn't fucking put it in the right folder. I can't
Why
find
are
it.
you
There's
coming
usually a
over-
script and shit's supposed to be in order prepared for you so you can,
But it's just like,
call 'em up.
why would you walk over to me and say it that way? Like, oh, could you not find it?
right? Well, and see, that's what that breeds ultimately is not good teamwork.
No, we didn't. No.
Because it's not going to instill any confidence. What you want to do, and you know this just as well as I, but anybody who's leading this crew should be like, hey, I understand you're under a lot of pressure,
Yeah.
but we do need this video. Can you find it? How can I help? Or
It's-
can I get something?
So
What can we do to make this happen?
at that place, there were so many problems with organization and leadership that it wasn't cohesive.
Right.
So being at the level that I am now, and everything's cohesive and everyone knows what their job is and everyone's doing their job, it's effortless. And
Like
then
a well-oiled machine
it's
over here.
crazy,
Yeah, no,
it's crazy how effortless it feels versus companies I used to work at a long time ago and just smaller productions. Because at the lower levels, it really is completely different.
it's a fucking struggle. Because
It
nobody,
is.
what you're dealing, it's a double uphill battle. You have
Mhm.
people who don't understand what they're doing. The pressure's twice as high, and because the pressure's higher, it increases their inability to do their job
Well,
because they don't have the experience to handle the pressure.
lots of things play into factor. The fact that the jobs were low paying.
That too. So you're not going to call up.
So you're not going to get people that are
Yeah.
actually qualified sometimes for the position.
That
And that's what
sucks.
happened in that case. They weren't qualified and they knew they couldn't get someone to accept that position that was
They're
that
just
amount
taking
of
whatever
money.
they can get because you do need a body one way or another to get that job done.
Mhm.
Even if it's
But
bad, it's better than nobody.
Also, they had that person doing too many tasks, too many responsibilities. And when that
I've been there.
happens, you pay less attention to certain things, and that
Stuff's
ultimately
going to slip through the cracks.
but that ultimately affected the actual production.
Mhm.
And so it just was a trickle down effect. It was, and it was frustrating to work on. But just his approach to me and the way he talked to me, I felt was
Yeah.
very unnecessary as a leader. And to go all the way back to what we were talking about before,
Right,
as
going
a
back
leader,
full circle here, yeah.
that's no way to talk to someone and expect them to want to work for you and respect you.
Yeah, well, so you're not leading, you're just bossing people around at that point.
You're bossing people around, but he also was talking to me like I didn't know what I was doing and like I didn't know my job. And
Yeah.
even at that time, I had way more experience than he did.
So yeah,
So that was offensive to me. And he didn't know where I came from or what level I actually worked at because I was working for multiple companies at the time.
yep.
And for him to say that to me, I was just like, "Real? Are you serious?
You realize what I did last
Right
week,
now?
you know?
First of all, I already do
It's-
more at a higher level than you do.
Mhm.
And you're going to come talk to me like I've never done this job ever before.
Bullshit, right? No, well, so
know?
then to take it to the other, because we kind of ended up on another tangent here. But the other idea being is, do you think he treated you differently than, say, other guys, males on the crew?
In
Or
that,
was he just an asshole already? That's,
he was just inexperienced and trying to do a job he wasn't capable of doing.
yeah.
That's what it was. I don't know how he treated male employees. I really wasn't paying attention to that because
Yeah.
I was so frustrated with
No,
just how I was being
You're also
treated
not
in
even
general.
caring how he deals with, yeah.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
because working in production, you don't know where someone's worked before. We all work multiple jobs at different varying levels. So for him to come in assuming that really made me mad and really shows how green he is.
It's what's weird too, and I'm trying to play devil's advocate here, but at the same note, how you said people come from varying levels with multiple different backgrounds. I've met people who are, 30 years old, who've done some crazy shit in their life, like production wise, who have been on some of the biggest gigs. They've shot Super Bowls, they've shot Olympics, they've shot all this stuff. I've also met people who I would assume who seem upon appearance, and after talking to him for a few minutes, I'm like, oh shit, this guy's weathered as fuck and he's been around the world. Turns out he's just 60 years old and never had a better gig than to be a camera op for, some local sports
even
gig.
At the higher levels, you do come across people that you're like, oh, how'd you
it's a mixed bag is the problem. Yeah, entirely.
But for the most part, when you get to higher levels, you're working with people that are more accountable.
Yeah.
And are better leaders. And
they take, whether it's leaders or even camera ops. This is one thing I noticed because I've had certain crews that I've met where we freelanced in guys who've been doing it for years versus freelancing people who are like, hey, you want to run a camera? And they're like, okay, cool. And we're like, yeah, you just have to point and shoot. And that's it. And they're like, all right, I think I can do that. It's a massive difference between those two employees. Most people don't think it's like, yeah, you just point a camera. No, there's like, as a director, when you're calling for shots and they're just like, what do you mean? What shot do you want? Versus the pro who's been doing it. They're on it. They whip it up.
I mean, it's really easy to tell.
Yeah.
Someone that hasn't worked on a production or hasn't done much, because I've been on productions where we are filming sports and the cameras are filming the wrong things.
Yeah, completely in the wrong direction. Yeah.
Certain cameras are for certain shots and certain angles, and none of them were in the right place.
Well, so what you'll get too is like your pro operators. And this is something great. Like we recently went through a pretty big gig, and we had guys that had never done it. And by the time we got to the end of the week, you couldn't tell a difference because essentially you have to anticipate shots, whatever they may be.
Yeah, you have to.
The pros anticipate. They know what's going to happen, and they know, okay, they also think the spatial awareness that there's a camera over there also looking at the same shot, and they've got a better shot. So I shouldn't point at the back of this dude's head. I should go find something else in the audience or in the coaches section or wherever it is.
Goes beyond. Yeah, because at a higher level, if you're working on a level where you have sponsors, you have promotions that you need to get in.
Yeah, there's that too.
Certain camera operators know that, this promotion is for kids. I should find some kids in the
they're thinking about the
audience.
content of the show.
Yes.
Yeah.
Content. And not only that, but if you're talking about sports, you got to know what players are bigger.
Right. That's huge.
Is someone going to have a career high tonight, possibly?
Right. So then this is a massive difference between the entry level versus the higher level. Very specific to sports, of course, but you start thinking about the big story of what's happening at this game versus somebody entry level. They're just like, oh, it's a game. Let's say it's basketball. We need to catch them throwing in the hoop. But to be honest, if you know the story, you're actually not focused on the guy who hit the hoop. You're focused on number 12 over there who made the assist because that's the main player of the game. And that's the key difference.
There's certain things you need to focus on. Of course, it varies on your
game
position.
To game, position, all that. Yeah.
But, like for me specifically, I'm looking at who's scoring the most points right now. Well, how many points do they have? How many rebounds do they have? How many assists do they have? What are their free throws right now? Because if it's a guy that's going to the line most of the time versus the rest of his team, that's an interesting statistic.
Right. You might need to bring up that stat, right?
He's 6 for 6 from the line, but there's only 10 free throws that his whole team has shot in the first half.
Yeah. Suddenly it's like, hey, we need to throw some shit up about this guy right here. Yeah.
Or and I don't necessarily have to get the huge packet of statistics that have everything in it.
Well, because it's
that's
too much
someone
to
else's job.
Yeah.
The graphics person, that's their job. But if I hear from my statistician that someone might have a career high, I'm going to make a stat that says career high and have it ready for if he breaks it.
Yeah. Huge. Yeah, you're
looking
ready.
ahead.
Yeah, thinking that, hey, this could be a possibility tonight. But that's the difference. You learn that foresight,
Yes.
right? And this is something that here's a big question, because there's a lot of people that want to get into different fields, right? And this being one of them, broadcast. It's huge. A lot of people want to be in that.
Mm-hmm.
Is this something that you can teach, or is the best way to learn it just simply getting thrown into the mix and learning the hard way?
Well, you can train somebody, but if they don't pick it up, they're just not going to pick it up.
Well, we've all met those
So-
untrainable employees too, but
You can
assuming-
learn, but sometimes that person's just not fit for that position. You know what I mean? And the whole getting in is based on skill and then luck. You have to be good at your job, but how you get there is based on luck.
a lot of
sometimes.
it's luck and who you know.
And who you know.
Let's be honest here. In
But
most,
those positions have to be available, I mean, there's
Yeah.
a lot of things that come into play. But I've trained people that weren't getting it,
Mhm.
and I had to say, I don't think they're ready. Don't take them.
Yeah, at a certain point, it's
You know.
because you have to make the call that if you throw this person into the game, the next whatever it is production,
Yeah.
it's gonna be a mess.
It comes down to a lot of things. Some people don't care enough. I've seen that. I've seen people that just didn't care enough about their job, thought they could take it really easy. And
Right.
that's not the person I'm going to recommend. Because the people that can make it far are the people that want to go above and beyond and do the best at their job.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think you can learn, but it's also, what do you want to do? Because you have to be able to make the most of it. And that's how I learned a lot. I asked a lot of questions, and I did what I could. I trained on positions if someone was willing to train me. And I asked them, I went out of my way to ask them, because they're not going to just say, hey, do you want to learn this? That's not really how it works. So the people that are quiet and don't ask questions and don't try to train on new positions, they're not really going to move far.
Right. Well, you got to be proactive.
Yeah, it really comes down
That's
to that
key.
person's personality and drive. And if they don't have it, you're going to stay exactly where you are.
It makes
You're not going
sense.
to move up.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
So you got to have the drive, the attitude. Attitude's key. But part of that attitude, let's say, so here's one. Let's say you got the attitude,
Mm-hmm.
but the personality doesn't fit.
The higher you go up, I mean, you kind of have to have a lot of things. You have to be able to fit in.
Yeah.
Teamwork. It's a team environment. If you can't fit in with the team, it's going to probably not work out for you.
Well,
You know?
It puts some stress. Well, because it'll put stress on the ultimate production,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
The higher you try to go, the harder it gets. So if you're not willing to do the work or learn, and you're not good at meeting people, talking to people, networking, it's probably not going to get there.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so you got to be the full package, essentially.
Yeah, pretty much.
Otherwise, you're gonna get stuck somewhere in a lower level, whatever. Which does make sense, You start hiring lower level, there's something missing from the package,
Mhm.
and therefore you're not gonna get the greatest possible.
I've also seen people that were good at their job that just never got lucky and met the right person, and the job didn't open up at the right time.
And that's a damn shame right
Yeah.
there.
So that's a
Some of
huge
the
factor.
greatest directors, whatever it may be, and they just didn't find that spot. The timing was shit.
Timing. Yeah.
Timing's
Timing can
huge.
be a huge factor.
Well, but that's also, you could consider that as part of their personal moves, because sometimes you can walk into an environment, a job environment, and realize here's how it is, here's who's sitting in these spots,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a perfect fit, and you're like, they're not gonna move until they retire out, and kind of the roster time length before you could land in any one of those.
Yeah.
So with that,
But
you
also
should
you
probably
just-
professionally move on somewhere if you're trying to move up.
If you're trying to move up, the thing is, people that work in broadcast have like 6 backup plans. There's
Well, you have to.
you have to,
It's
because
the nature of the game.
you can't really be full time anymore.
Yeah, find me one
Um,
full-time broadcast gig.
I'm the youngest person on my crew. Most of the people are twice my age or in their late 30s. And so they've kind of had time to make it a full-time career. But the way that the industry is going, it's really hard for someone my age to actually be able to make a living doing it. So I have to think, okay, it's aside from this career, what other careers can I have, and how can I make money this way and that way and this?
Right, you
know,
got 3 backup plans at any
three
given
backup
time.
plans, which I currently have right now that I'm working on actually.
Right.
So yeah, it's tough. It's not an easy industry to work in.
No, that makes sense. But it never has been. And I mean, like, I know
It never has been, but at least back in if we're looking at just the 80s and the 90s, let's say,
yeah.
there was more job security, and like the way that companies are thinking about it
so
now,
part of it now is they've got automation kicking in.
automation is taking away a lot
It's
of jobs.
massive, yeah.
And it's going to keep on taking a lot of jobs.
But so, and this is funny because this is something we talked about, I want to say last week or the week before, but we ended up talking about automation and is it a good thing? Not so much automation directly towards broadcast, but on the broader scale. And so that it kind of coming back in, I know personally somebody is one of my good friends who's getting booted here in a few months from one of the TV stations he works at because they're going automated.
Yeah.
He's a director, but he's not going to because it's
That
a program.
happens a lot with news.
Yeah.
News is very much so that way. A lot of jobs are.
How the fuck can you automate directing?
You can.
Yeah, it's we can explain that in detail later because it's
someone just told me, I forgot the name of the company, but you can basically the cameras can
pan
move
until
themselves based on who's talking, because
Yeah.
there's a microphone that picks up who's talking, and the camera will be like, oh, they're over here.
Yeah, it's all programmed in. I was actually almost see. Here's the thing. I feel bad, Rob. I'm sorry, but I was gonna try to automate Rob's job out of this whole thing and have it where auto switches to whoever's talking.
Fuck you, Joe.
I didn't. I love you, man.
But from a company standpoint, they're trying to.
Yeah,
cut
the only
costs.
reason you did it is because you can't afford it. I'm sorry, Erica.
Yeah, I mean, it's to cut costs, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's what businesses are trying to do: cut costs at every level.
Right.
But then, when do you take it too far?
Yeah. Well, is there such thing as too far? That's part of the question that I would have. Is because the idea, and this is almost where I went last time, like automating car driving. Seems
That's
great
weird.
to me.
Yeah.
Seems awesome.
Well, I think that as much as computers can do, you need with certain things, you need a person to be able to make decisions. Like, for example, if you tried to automate production to where you didn't need let's say a producer, because you put in a script and it figured
enter
out
script and it calculates everything.
and it
Yeah.
told everyone what they needed to do for their day.
Right.
Who's gonna is a computer gonna make an ethical decision
Well, so
when it shouldn't?
there's that, but there's the artistic flair is what I also kick in.
Artistic, yeah.
Because that's the big one. You can't automate art.
No.
Not possible.
No.
And this is huge when we're directing. There's certain times you get in a rhythm, and of course it works. Free throw here, blah blah. Let's say it's basketball.
I have to cut you off, Joe, because you had a conversation with Willie about this. I don't know, several shows ago, and he said that same thing, and you said you brought up the computer that composed music.
Yes,
Nah.
I did, and I do recall that computer.
So you're contradicting yourself.
So on that note, let me specify why I'm taking this other point now. The fact that you can automate things that sound artistic, and they will be artistic in the sense that it's appealing to the ears.
Yeah.
You can automate a show, and it would be appealing to the people watching.
Yeah.
But the truly, what's the word here? The human aspect where it's random.
Mm-hmm.
We do stupid shit as humans.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
It's actually what we're really
on
good
a
at.
show, and it doesn't have to be sports. It could be anything where something unpredictable happens. How do you react to it?
Well,
and how should you react to it?
My
Because
argument would be that there's probably a program that comes in
there's
that
an
would be
algorithm.
there's an
that's
algorithm for it.
designed.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah,
way to take it, but you
it's
don't
not
know.
going to be able to make an ethical choice because, and to go back to sports, just because that's what I do.
Yeah.
The protests that have happened recently in Sacramento with Stephon Clark being shot by police, protesters came and made it to where the arena was on full lockdown and fans weren't going to come in anymore.
Right.
And of course, we're going to broadcast part of that protest and explain why there's only 2,000 fans
Because it's part of your
in
show.
the stadium. It's part of our show.
Yeah. Why are there only this many people
Is
inside?
a computer
have to get
going
cameras
to
outside.
be able to decide in that moment
Something
what to
that
do?
complex? No, because now
Exactly.
you need more B-roll shots. And granted, I don't take it out of the future that someday there would be a computer that can handle it. But for something like that, I wouldn't want it to, because it's a very human thing. Why are they protesting? Human experience. That's
taking
why it
things too
should be.
far.
Yeah.
Because, like, there are robots right now that can jump and move and
Do crazy
do
shit. They
crazy
can
shit.
backflip.
backflip. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy
It's terrifying.
shit. And I get it. We're doing it because we can. We're doing it to see what happens. We're doing
Right.
it to see how we can evolve other technologies. Great. But there's also now a doll that men can order.
Oh, the sex
The
dolls.
sex dolls.
Women can also order it.
Oh,
I didn't
yeah,
know that.
you can replace a human relationship with that.
You know,
doll.
okay, so here's a quick little side. I don't remember if we may have talked about this, or maybe it was some other podcast I was listening to. But let's say you got a weird fuck who's like not gonna interact with humans in a normal way. Like he
Mhm.
wants to, let's say it's like some abuser dude, right? He just wants to like whip, and like in a bad way, not like the BDSM where the girl's into it. Is it better that dude gets a sex doll and just like hits his sex doll? Like that seems like a better alternative to me than him going off and finding random
mean-
ass women to beat. It's weird as fuck. Let's not get wrong.
I-
Let's
I-
not ignore that fact.
I'm trying to think of a way in which this could be useful. If that doll can replace prostitution or rape, maybe that would be a useful tool.
So that'd be a big one. Yeah, it's like dudes that are gonna go out and rape people.
However, people that are socially awkward, that don't want to go out of their way to talk to people and make human connections, I think that there's an issue there
Yeah, well,
that should
Allow
be
me to
addressed.
cite the Japan body pillow problem.
Uh,
They're running out of human beings in Japan because no one's mating because they have waifu body pillows.
so here's what they do: is they sew that little hole up in the body pillow. Boom, problem solved. You gotta find a new place to stick it.
But that's a whole other issue because we're talking about like space, and we're talking about why people are having less kids or not having kids, or
Right.
but that still doesn't get. It's not going to give you what you need. You're gonna be missing something.
So it's a quick thought that I had. It was something I had I was hanging out with a bunch of friends, and so I've got a group of friends that I hang out with that are particularly into like cosplay and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not so much into it myself, but these guys are, and well, it's a whole group. There's like guys, girls, but that's what they do, and it's awesome. Like I hugely respect that that's what they want to do all day long, and I'm like, you have a hobby. I went to a comic book store with them the other day, and I realized how personally I was kind of bored out of my mind. Like they were having conversations and loving it, and like talking about little details about this and that and the release date, whatever it may be. I was just wandering up and down the hallways, just kind of like, okay, these are comics, and I don't really know what the first edition of this. I never heard of half of them, or more than half of them.
Right.
But at that moment, it kind of hit me because I had fallen away from this, and I realized just because I don't think it's cool doesn't mean it's something that society doesn't need.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that people enjoy. Whether it's, I don't have to enjoy it.
Okay.
My
but-
standards aren't the standards for the world. So if there's a guy that particularly doesn't want the same, like what I feel I want out of a relationship with a person, I thought that was normal for everybody. But there's some people that do not want the same style of relationship as me, and that's perfectly okay. You know, if a person doesn't want to have kids, doesn't want to,
Right,
you
but
know,
it's also a business, so you have to think from that perspective. Why do they feel they're going to capitalize on it? So why do they feel the need to make these sex dolls? So they're sex dolls.
well, sex sells. We know this.
Sex sells, and they're sex dolls, and they're trying to, I don't know what their MO is, but
I think it's to satisfy the dudes.
we
who
also
want
have
sex
a
dolls,
lot
right?
we also have a lot of mental illness in this country is a stigma. We don't have enough programs or anything to support that. Depression is actually the biggest.
Well, but I
mental
wouldn't say we
illness.
don't have any programs. That's a bold statement, you know.
When it comes to being able to make a difference in the population, we don't have nowhere near enough to make an impact. Like, especially when you look at veteran healthcare, it's really not.
Yeah, I've
lot for them.
personally seen that not go the way it should, but yeah, because that's a tricky one. Is
Because I've also seen documentaries where there's gamers, right, that that they're addicted. They will spend all day inside playing the game, and it'll have health effects, negative health effects that'll start occurring, or they get obsessed and they want to marry a character in the game.
So, but,
Is
and this
that-
is simply my devil's advocate here, but a gamer sits inside and for the most part isn't doing damage to anybody else in their lives, just simply his own. I tend to like to drink a lot on the weekends, which for the most part is not healthy. You know?
Yeah.
Things like that. So one is socially acceptable to go out and it's Friday night. Let's go out and have a bunch of beers and shots and all that. That's totally cool. Not good for you by any means, but that's socially acceptable. Versus sitting inside in a dark room playing video games all day, not socially acceptable. Well, more so now than it used to be.
Right, but if you were addicted to alcohol, you'd
Right,
be an
so
alcoholic,
I
you would
see
have
what
a
you're saying, yeah.
problem.
You get
So
to the point
then
of addiction, now we do have a problem.
Addiction, and I'm talking about people that do this all day, every day. They're in the documentary that I watched, and I don't remember the name of it. It was on Netflix, but there were people that quit their jobs
Right?
so they could do this all day.
Yeah, that might
No
be a little far.
income. I
Yeah.
honestly don't know what happened to them, but that, or they wanted to marry a
Wasted
character.
away.
They wanted to marry a virtual being.
Yeah. A
At
fictional
what point
character,
you have
yeah.
to ask, is this a mental illness?
Yeah, that's a valid point. And it's something that didn't exist before. It's like there's a lot
we
of
have
way. Yeah.
new technologies, all these new things coming into play. Like, I don't know if have you seen the movie Her?
I haven't.
So he falls in love with an artificial intelligence, like Siri, kind
Okay.
of.
Yeah.
And with all these robots coming into play, I'm thinking, are we going to get to a point in the future where iRobot, are they going to take over us? They're going to try to kill us and take over the world?
Right.
Are people going to fall in love with artificial intelligence and marry? And it will be illegal someday to marry an AI?
Or yeah. Well,
What's going to happen? You know?
yeah. There's a lot of ways to take that. Huh. Shit. See, we're starting to go into some heavier
Some
stuff
really
now. Yeah.
crazy stuff.
We're getting we've taken a lot away. All right. Well, you know what? Let's close it up. It's been
Okay.
awesome. Yeah, because we can end up going on for hours about
Forever,
this. Yeah. But we'll get you on some other time.
It's
All
getting good, Joe.
Yeah, I know. Well, I know it's just getting good, but we're also reaching into one of the longer podcasts that we've done.
Probably, yeah.
So, well, grab one of the.
It's-
I'm gonna do
yeah.
this real quick.
Oh,
That up. Thanks for coming on.
cheers. Thank you.
It's been good.
It's been good.
All right. Till next time.